is Toni Casserly, and I am an integral steward of an organization called the Blockchain Commons. The Blockchain Commons is an org that is built on the thesis that if we actually want to accomplish anything in this industry, we're going to have to do it together. And that means creating a participatory commons where people from all different kinds of projects come together to work and contribute and share and build as one union and unity. Just a couple examples of things our community created: the DIE, the high-level standard for decentralized identity. Microsoft wrote a whole white paper about it. We also just helped HTC, we advised the Exodus phone, so we just helped HTC implement the first rudimentary execution of social key sharing. Yay, no one losing your private keys. What I'd like to talk to you guys about today is the idea that governance should not be based on economics, but that governance should be based on something that is more equal and more fair, something that we all have, which is decentralized identity. And that from the perspective of identity, when we start governance with identity, we begin to move into systems that place our empathy in front of our relationship with a system. So before saying, I'd like to place my relationship with governance on an abstraction, money is an abstraction of things that we have materialized or a way that we have perceived value. But what is money really? It's a measurement. But is it a measurement of your character, your self-worth, your integrity? No. It is a material measurement to quantify this world that is known. But the place we really must explore is the unknown world inside of us all. And we all start dropping in with ourselves, getting more connected with everyone else, gaining more perspective on who someone is, what has informed them, what are their feelings about any situation. I think that's when we actually begin to move out of systems that have dehumanized our connection with each other in pursuit of over-materialization, what I call the golden calf, the worshipping of the golden calf, and into systems that reconnect us with what we are built to do and who we are built to be: human. Thank you.
Are you going to take some questions?
Yes.
I have
So we have way over time of questions. So if you like to select yourself.
Sure. Hand raised.
So,
Yeah.
what cryptography gives us is the strong asymmetry between defense and attack, in the way that it's way more difficult to attack my private key or whatever than I have to put into defense. And that is very different than reality, where it's much more difficult to defend than to attack. Right? So we created this totally peaceful world where violence is impossible because of cryptography, but then you're asking us to peg it back to our identities and expose us again so that we are attackable in the real world. How does that fit together?
Well, so when you have, I think it depends on what you mean by attack, and the idea that none of these claims have to be public. So, for example, if you're working with your identity and your identity has an identifier, and then you have a service that provides you with your identity, and then you have a series of claims, the claims don't necessarily have to be public. You have the ability to make your identity anonymous or pseudo-anonymous. We've written a bunch of white papers on this. One you should check out is called Amira. It's on GitHub for Web of Trust. So github.com/Web of Trust info, and then search for Amira. Amira, yeah. It's about a woman who is she was a child bride in Syria. She escaped child marriage and forced child marriage. She moved to the United States, where she's in the witness protection program, and she wants to work on social impact projects, but she can't because she's in the witness protection program, and she doesn't want to be on alert since the Syrian regime could still be looking for her. And so she creates an anonymous identity called Better World Hacker 23 that she uses to accomplish projects that help women achieve access to their rights after domestic violence situations. So it's not to say that your identity has to be totally public. It's not saying like, hey, let's end privacy and make everything transparent to everyone. I think that that's a whole other conversation, is if our consciousness becomes more collective, what is the relationship to or need most people would see for privacy? And is privacy still something that there's a whole other conversation to have around that, but it's the idea that self-sovereign identity doesn't mean that you don't have a marketplace of choice. And self-sovereign identity does not also mean that you are in constant forced exposure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I think, do you have your hand up? Do you want to go?
It's just approving.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So, what we did before was to introduce ourselves, to understand better our own identities, to have a better feeling of who we are.
Yeah.
But it took some time.
Yeah.
So if somebody enters now, they haven't gone through this, so they have less information about our own identities. So by doing this, we have kind of make it harder for others to come in. So my bottom question with this simple example is, if you have a strong, meaningful relationships based on identity, wouldn't this be a trade-off with openness and scale collaboration?
So I think that might be an assumption, because someone could walk in here and say, oh, I came late, I'm going to get to know everyone better than everyone else in this room. It's really more about what you put in than it is about, it's how you participate more so than the context that you have. Because the level at which you participate to gain context is the level at which you'll receive context. Like, someone could come in here and let's say we're all like, oh, we're tired, and like, good morning, everyone, it's good to see you, had a really fun time at the rave last night, because I'm still there. And then someone could walk in and be like, oh, I slept and like had lunch and I'm awake, and now I'm coming to meet everyone, and they could gain more context than we have. So I think to say that like there's an exclusionary, to assume that someone would be exclusion would mean that we would limit access to people who want to come into the commons and meaningfully participate. If you decide to take your ability to meaningfully participate into your own hands, then you continue to gain context. And someone who participates more might gain more context than all of us have. Because I didn't meet actually every person in this room. So someone who comes in and introduces themselves to every single person in this room might actually have more context than I would have. So I think it's more determined by the way in which you show up and contribute to or participate in a commons of identity than it is about saying like, here's access and not access.
Do you want me to? Oh, so just
Yeah.
say,
Yeah.
think of as the social interactions continue, it might be that you don't. It's not that you want to prevent others to come back, but the amount of information that has been stored in our brains about each other and the feelings we have created becomes, even if we don't want to, an effective blocker. But this is just to put this on the table. Is there a trade-off between strong social, the way we want to have social relations that are meaningful and makes us happy, and effective collaboration at scale and openness?
Yeah, I mean, there's
a trade-off or not?
for sure. There's one other thing that I think we should presence, which is how collective is our relationship with consciousness going to become? This is another principle I have when designing governance systems, is that there should be no good or bad in our process of justice. There should be consciousness. Because good and bad, good necessitates bad. Consciousness raises everyone's understanding. And so it's the level to go further into your question. And you can say participate as a measurement, like here's a binary measurement, but as a principle and thesis, uplifting the level of consciousness. And if we have things like quantum neural nets that expand our relationship with what we perceive as material physics, and basically like what is a collective consciousness, I think we're entering into a different level of complexity. So I think we can talk about this in a way that's more abstract and saying here's where these systems are going and let's design for that. And then we can think about this in a way that's more concrete. But I think there are definitely broader systems questions that have to be understood and answered outside of blockchain to relate to what is the future of our participatory commons, what is actually the future of our relationship to human consciousness, and where does identity fit into that? Yeah. I think there's one more.
I read those. Let's take those questions to the open space. So feel free to propose also a session for open